Okay, let me see if this works. I might hear some double audio here. Let's see how far back it is. Hit the play button. Oh, it's working. Cool. I might hear. There you go. All right, good. Watch us live on the SideQuest for December 10th. Okay, well, sent out there. I'll put it in. All right. There we go. Okay. Get the agenda open here. I think it was a fairly good agenda, something we can work around. So I will count us in, and then we will start from there. And 3, 2, 1. This week on the SideQuest, we're going to talk the merits of Episode 2, The Clone Wars, the biology of ferret mating rituals, and games. Welcome to the SideQuest, everybody. It's December 10th, 2015, and I've lost my voice. Somebody else take over. Just kidding. SideQuesting's semi-weekly podcast about games. You can find us at SideQuesting.com. I am Dolly, one of your lovely hosts, but not the loveliest. That title goes to Sam Dixon.
Hello, friends. Yet again. Lovely, I guess.
The lovely. Tom will be joining us later. He's stuck in traffic. Robin is out for today because she's helping students, so she's being ultra noble. In the meantime, we decided to bring in the heaviest of heavy hitters. No weight jokes or puns intended. The hashtagonist himself, Wout. How's it going, my friend?
Thanks for having me, Dolly. It's great to be here.
Not a problem. It's we've been looking forward to getting together.
I am a heavy hitter though. I'm like a 6'5" to 80 pounds black belt. So
yeah, there you go. You know what? I have seen your Facebook photos. You are a heavy hitter. You're a giant. That's fantastic. Yes. Well, thank you for joining us on the show this week. It's great to have you. You just started work on the Daily Crate, so we'll get a little bit of info on that as well.
Cool.
So I'm curious to see how that's going. So, so welcome.
Thank you. It's my first podcast, so if I break any rules, just let me know, yell at me a little, and I'll clean up.
I think you started well when you said I'm pre-drinking.
Yeah, that is true.
That's a good start to any podcast.
I'm now currently drinking.
Yeah, and I am. I made myself not quite a screwdriver, but rum and orange juice. But we'll see how this goes. So if you hear me slurping, it's because surprisingly the rum either curdled or froze the juice that I have in here. So
sounds delicious.
Yes, exactly. It's an orange popsicle. Well, we're going to talk about. Here's the agenda, actually, everyone. We're going to talk about some of the games that we've been playing, including the 12 games of Christmas that some of us at SideQuesting have been doing. We're going to talk about the Game Awards and PSX, some of the interesting tidbits that came out of there. And a few of us have been wondering, there's been a lot of games over the last few years with glitches and bugs, and it'd be interesting to kind of cover that a little bit. So this should be good, probably about an hour. So we'll see. Well, we'll see how long it takes us. If we get bored, which we won't, trust me, we've been drinking. We can switch things up. So. All right, let's talk about what games we've been playing first. But before we do that, I want to hear about the Daily Crate and your experience getting into and some of the things you've been working on over there. So you actually had a really good piece that went up. Was it today that went up?
Yeah, today. Yeah, I've been working on that for weeks.
Okay.
I was working on that before I joined the Daily Crate. So when I came in, I was like, okay, I'm working on this, but just check if it's Daily Crate material because I don't know your tone that well yet.
Sure.
So I went up today. It's focused on negativity bias in gaming. It kind of covers like why we are drawn to bad news And sometimes it seems that if you click any outlet, like everything is bad headlines, this is shit, this is bad, microtransactions, DLC, all that stuff. Turns out it's just our brains that are being assholes, and everything is actually pretty great. So that's kind of what I would focus on, and to see like why are people using those headlines, and that's just simply because it draws more traffic. So I watched over 300 videos on YouTube and analyzed those headlines with traffic. So it was a lot of work. So now that it's done, it's a weight off my shoulders. But it's been received pretty well, both internally with the Daily Crate, which is a fantastic crew. So shout out to those guys for adopting me.
Really great folks over there for sure.
So I hope that they don't kick me out anytime soon, because I'm having a great time so far.
There's a great section in there about just comments, the comments section.
Yeah.
And I like how you kind of bolded the quote, which is, if you turn on the news at any day of the week, you'll notice the world is populated by evil politicians. I don't know any evil politicians. They're all wonderful.
Oh, yes.
Scheming bankers, dirty priests, racist presidential candidates, and several hordes of armed students. Seems no matter where you are basically going to die.
Yeah, it pretty much describes Canada. That's all I'm saying.
So true, so true. Well, it's the really nice thing about the Daily Crate that I've noticed is that the type of content you guys have been posting up there is a little bit more engaging, right? It's not just here's the latest news. It's actual, it's some of the more feature type content. That's the kind of stuff we like to do at SideQuesting when we have time to do it. But it's very cool. Great, it's a great site. I definitely recommend checking it out, and definitely check Wout's the work over there. It's phenomenal. Well, So your name is Wout, and you're not actually Canadian.
I'm not actually Canadian. No, I'm actually Dutch.
I was gonna say 6'8" Korean man.
Oh yeah, that's
way off.
Usual. I get that a lot. No, I'm actually a Dutch man. I moved to Canada almost 6 years ago. Next week is my 6-year anniversary.
A anniversary.
So it's great so far. I moved here because I fell in love with the girl, and it was either her moving or me. You know the story.
Yep.
And it ended up being me.
And you.
Yeah, it's great. It's East Coast though, man. So all the cool stuff happens in California apparently. So my travel budget is going to be through the roof next year.
Oh yeah, well there is stuff like PAX East and things like that over in Boston. So hopefully
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
That won't be too much of a stretch.
I'm still relatively new, so I still have to shake a lot of hands and watch some people in the eye and tell them what I'm all about. But I'm looking forward to hopefully get a little bit of positive influence and energy into the world, because people are always mad about games nowadays.
Oh yeah.
And now we're going to talk about bugs and glitches later, and I'm going to lose my mind. So
You and I have had some pretty good conversations about it. I thought, let's just save it for a podcast. So,
yes, absolutely.
Definitely. Great. Well, it's, again, check out the Daily Crate. Really awesome stuff over there. So, but let's talk about what we've been playing, and you are a guest, so what have you been playing lately?
Okay, well, so the game that has been draining all of my time is Divinity Original Sin, the Enhanced Edition.
Okay.
I picked it up, and the moment I started this game, I was like, this is what I've been missing in my life for so long. Like the turn-based Baldur's Gate vibe that game has, I've missed it so hard, and I didn't even know it. So I spent a good 100 hours with the game over the last couple of weeks. I made it pretty far in, and then I made the wrong decision. I was like, oh shit, now I have to start over. So I just started my whole new campaign 30 hours in, just because I made one mistake. Not that I'm like anal about that stuff or anything, but it's a great game. But after 100 hours, I was like, okay, I need to finish this game. Like no more side quests. Just go beat the boss. And then I felt this void in my heart after I was done. And now I'm looking for something to pick up, and I just downloaded Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, I saw you doing that. Yeah. I saw the
and I wasn't gonna do it. I was like, I don't remember too much of this story. Maybe I can just wait for the remake and just relive it all again. And then my buddy started tweeting pictures about him playing. I was like, oh fuck it, I'll just do it.
So that was on PS Plus, right?
Yes.
Okay, so and it's on sale. Is it on sale, or did you get it through the Plus discount?
No, it's on sale now through Plus, so you get I think a 30% discount, $10. It's worth just the theme that you get for free.
Yeah, and it's not going to be episodic, which is nice also.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What a positive comment, Dolly.
thank you. See, I'm trying to be positive. No, I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen that news. We don't really even know what that quite means right now, but what we're referencing is Final Fantasy VII appears as though it's going to be released in parts as opposed to one big chunk. I'm sure it'll all be one big chunk later on. They'll release some type of full season, but yeah, it's kind of cryptic as to what
Yeah.
they're doing with this modern remake of the game.
I think it's gonna be 3 games, like
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 13, 1, 2, and 3, but pre-planned, one
Sure.
story, um, which is fine as long as
Mhm.
they like come out 2 months after each other. Then I'm happy. But
Yeah, if
that's not
it's
gonna
a, if
happen.
it, yeah, exactly, right. Yeah, ain't gonna happen. This is Square Enix we're talking about here.
As long as it's not something like StarCraft 2, where it was broken up over what, like 6 or 7 years between
That's right.
episodes.
Well, remember, it was going to be one game when StarCraft 2 was initially spec'd out. And they said, we're going to do 3 games. Just kept
Yeah,
going.
why not?
Why not? Why not? So the cool thing about the Divinity Original Sin is one of the games that I've really wanted to check out. I had checked it out a little bit. I remember first seeing it at E3, God, maybe like 5 years ago. I don't know when it was. When they first showcased it, and really thought it was a cool retro RPG, retro PC RPG, and it kind of clicked with me a little bit, and I thought, I'm gonna check this out down the line. I'll definitely pick up the game, and I never got around it just because my backlog is massive, and we'll get into
Yeah.
that too.
Well, a small thing that I love about this game is it's made in Belgium, so
Mhm.
there are some Dutch jokes in there, not
Oh.
just the language.
Yes.
So there's like trolls counting in Dutch, and if you don't know that, it's like, oh, that's weird. But when you speak the language, you pick up on all the little jokes. So for me, it was like, that's funny. And my wife had like no idea what I was talking about.
The cool thing about the Divinity series, it's a massive universe. It's like a huge IP that's gone from all kinds of RPGs to like building and more of the strategy type stuff to I think there's even like tabletop stuff. It's insane.
Yeah. And they're working on the second part in December 2016, I think.
Yes, yep. And it was funded like almost instantly on Kickstarter. So yeah, it's they've got a great thing going, and they've nailed down that formula. And God, it's one of those not want to say underground, but really below the waterline properties out there. Not a lot of people know about, but more people should, because it is a great, nice and it's super deep mythos to it. So
you won't pick it up at GameStop. You kind of have to know what's out there.
Yeah, exactly. It's very true. Very true. Awesome. Man, Final Fantasy VII obviously just came out the other day at PSX. They announced it, so we'll touch on that a little bit later. But Sam, what are you playing these days?
Well, it's a shame Tom's not here, but I've actually against my own will, have been playing.
Well, first of all, can I say your beard is looking majestic right now.
Thank you.
It's looking awesome.
No Shave November rolls into Don't Shave December. So
I thought it was I thought it was No Pants November. I totally played that one wrong. I'm still not wearing pants, so.
Yeah, but I've been playing Destiny: The Taken King.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. And I was one of those people that finished Vanilla Destiny and was not upset, but was like, okay, there's not much here. I've played the raid once. There's no need for me to continue to be playing this. And all the DLCs, wasn't interested in buying them. Wasn't interested at all. And then Black Friday rolled around, and everybody I know all of a sudden all bought PlayStations and all bought Destiny. And we're like, hey, you own Destiny, you're going to play these raids with us, right? And I was like, fine. Bought it on sale at Walmart or whatever, and didn't get a chance to play it until this week. And I want to say my last 3 days, I've spent probably most of my awake hours playing The Taken King with people. And man, did they fix that game? That game is so
did they fix that game?
It's so fun. There was before when it was oh, well, you can do this, this, and that'll take you 30 hours to get an exotic. That doesn't, I've never been a grindy MMO type player.
Mm-hmm.
Promising me a cool gun to help get other cool guns doesn't do any good. But they actually in The Taken King, they took the time to be okay, there's a story reason this gun exists, and there's a story reason of why why you should want this gun and why you should go get it. And guess what? It's also cool, and you can use it in the raid to get even better, cooler guns. And I'm like, okay. Man, that game with people is an entirely different game than playing it by yourself. Like I tried
Mm.
playing it for about an hour by myself today, and I just got bored. I had to turn it off and play something else. But yeah, I don't think necessarily that I was never in the camp that Destiny didn't have enough of a start. Now, I think that they might have embellished everything that Destiny was before the game shipped.
Hmm.
And I think certain people did fall into that trap of believing there was much more game than what actually was in Destiny. But I feel like a lot of people have been echoing this, that the Taken King is the Destiny that everybody expected Destiny
Right.
to be when it came out. Um, and I know we're going to talk about PSX a little bit later, but the Sparrow racing that they showed there for the first time is certainly a nice new feature for people that don't have any interest in playing like the Crucible, like PvP deathmatch like type stuff, to
Hmm.
earn kind of like high level gear that can get you into a raid, which will then allow you to get like even good gear to be doing other activities in the game. So and I mean, I like racing games, so telling me that I can finally race around on the like speeder bike that like like as soon as you're on that for the first time, you're like, so can I race this against somebody? And finally adding that was a nice addition. I think that'll really get and it's going until after Christmas, which will be a
Right.
nice way.
They've extended it. Yeah.
Yeah, so for people that'll be coming in right at Christmas, the 25th or the 26th, we'll have a couple of days with it, because I think all you have to be is like level 5, which you get after like the first couple of missions,
Hmm.
to play it and participate in it. And if they keep that type of content up, even though I know that Bungie hates the idea that Destiny is an MMO. You call it an MMO and they immediately go, "Oh, it's not an MMO. I don't know what you're talking about." But if they keep up the sort of like maybe every other month sort of different activity, something to keep people interested and invested, I think Destiny has a good future. Now, does that mean that they make Destiny 2, or they just keep making the Destiny Taken King version 2 over and over again? Who knows? But
Well, I thought they announced a couple days ago that they're kind of done making the big giant DLC like they Taken King style. And they're going to focus more on the, like you're saying, the every other month or every quarter style smaller events.
well, and the Sparrow
Correct me if
Racing.
I'm wrong, but that's what they
Well,
said.
no, I believe that's what they said, and the Sparrow
That's the
Racing is
story.
kind of the first like showing of that.
Mm.
They have I forget exactly what it's called, but it's basically the racer's like diary book, where if you can buy it using silver, which is their like microtransaction like dollars,
Hmm.
and it ends up being about $10. And that has like an exclusive set of armor in it, and an exclusive like speeder and like armor color shader and stuff that you can only get if you meet these requirements in the 3 weeks and you purchase that book. And if they're gonna do that type of stuff, that's nice, because that's like purely vanity, like type objects. And maybe the speeder is a little bit faster, but there's nothing in the like actual PvP or PvE that needs the
Hmm.
speeder to like be faster, other than just preference, I guess. The only thing I would be worried about is if you're gonna start doing like little like this pack of missions is $5. I wonder
Oh,
if you're
right.
gonna I wonder if you're gonna start seeing people that like get turned off by that. And if they're gonna do
The whole
events
kind of
where it's
microtransaction thing.
yeah, if they're gonna do events that just host like special things, like, oh, you might get a variant of this gun if you pay the $5, like I like that type of content's fine.
Sure.
But like if we're gonna start locking like missions behind like smaller microtransactions, that's where I think people are gonna not be too happy with that new model. And the statement is are they switching to a microtransaction model because they don't plan on releasing any more like big content packs for Destiny and they move on to Destiny 2, or are we just gonna keep Destiny in this ongoing sort of weird, we're not an MMO but we're definitely an MMO state?
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, they kind of already did well, microtransactions. You had to buy a can of Red Bull for a specific mission, right? So you
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
see some
yeah.
of that.
I think with that Red Bull though, all it was like another like probably like a Red Bull themed shader for your armor or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Red Bull, did you guys catch the Red Bull Gaming tweet and the monster tweet back and forth
Oh, that
yesterday?
was brutal. That was brutal.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Some monster posted a photograph of like stacks and stacks and stacks of Monster energy drink and said, "Hey, where should we deliver these to?" And Red Bull Gaming replied back. This is all via Twitter. Replied back with just a photograph of a dumpster.
Oh jeez.
There's been a lot of great back and forth. What was that? The best mustache between
Mario and
Sonic
Sonic,
and Mario?
yeah.
Everybody was jumping in. There were a
Yeah.
lot of, hey guys, we have a guy with a mustache too.
Yeah. That Sonic Twitter was on point when that just started, man.
Brilliant. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. They know their market, that's for sure.
So I've got to get back into Destiny. That's my goal. It's not on my backlog yet, but I think I was at level like 10 or 12 when I stopped playing, just because everything else kind of caught up. But my goal is to get back into it. I think hopefully there'll be a little bit of a lull in, for the next few months. Oh, excuse me. The alcohol's trying to get me. I get sleepy with alcohol. Yes, I want to get into it, and I'm glad. See, I'm one of the folks that didn't dislike the original Destiny because I am pretty bad at shooters, and I felt like vanilla Destiny was actually really, what's the word? It was accessible for me. I could jump in, I could play. Doing stuff in co-op was a lot of fun, and I never had an issue with that. I actually kind of enjoyed vanilla Destiny quite a bit. And then, of course, it just, like I said, it just kind of falls by the wayside with everything else. So I'm interested to jump into Taken King, knowing how much has changed over the last year and even the last couple months. So it's good to hear. I mean, everything has been really positive about it.
Yeah. I kind of had the same experience as Sam, that I stopped playing. I even bought like both expansions and just didn't use them. And then I was playing around on Twitter, and Andrea Renee was like, "Oh, you should come play Destiny again with me." So I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll install things, give it a shot." And then she absolutely schooled me on Elders, and I felt so bad. Like my gamer cred, if there's such a thing, went down the drain. I forgot how to aim, if I was playing inverted or not. But just at Taken King, the first mission is amazing. It reminded me of like Mass Effect, the Reaper mission. It was so well done, and I was like, okay, this is the kind of game that they were selling. So Taken King has been a great time sink for me as well until I started playing Divinity again. But I know I've got lots to do still in Destiny now.
Sure.
Yeah, the intro to the Taken King probably has more lines of recorded dialogue for everybody else in the cast, other than Nolan North took over Peter Dinklage's spot.
Right.
But like you're like all of a sudden like Nathan Fillion's character like actually has a voice other than like welcoming you, like hello Guardian.
Yeah.
He actually he's a huge component in the storyline. Plus, if like all those Vanguard people now, like when you're Hunter, he's the one that like leads you through getting your new subclass or whatever. And they're actually finally like using the dialogue they paid for, I assume, so long ago from these like actual talents that they hired on. And basically like Destiny 1 has like 2 or 3 set pieces in it. Like when you get your ship, the raid, and like when you meet the Queen for the first time. And I would say like within the like first 2 or 3 missions of the Taken King, you've already surpassed like every recorded line of dialogue for the original Destiny, plus like different set pieces, and just the idea that this world has conflicts other than just you trying to shoot people in the face. That like the original Destiny like alludes to, but now you're actually seeing that sort of stuff like take place with or without your involvement.
Yeah, no, they did a great job there. I can't wait to see what Destiny 2 is going to bring us eventually, because it will be there.
Well, that's the thing. If they follow their like the leaked Activision like roadmap of what Destiny is, technically I think they're supposed to have one more DLC pack, which they might not release now. I think they were supposed to have one more DLC pack towards the spring sometime, and then Destiny 2 is supposed to be either this holiday or like January, February release time. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think they're gonna pull a Fallout during E3 next year. They're gonna be bam, fall 2016 Destiny 2.
Yeah,
that would be great.
That could very much happen. Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to see like Titanfall 2 and a bunch of other
Oh yeah.
stuff during E3, so I could see this battle starting to heat up again.
Yeah.
We almost not almost forgot. We definitely forgot about Titanfall about
Has
2
anyone
weeks
seen
after.
Titanfall?
Has anyone seen Titanfall? Yeah. But yeah, so okay, good. Good to know that about Destiny. I'm looking forward to it, and I hopefully Tom can join us because he's been our Destiny. He's been our Taken King over the last the last year or so. You been playing anything else, Sam?
Tony Hawk got that update.
It's called Tony
Uh,
Hawk again now, right?
yeah. And I mean, we can talk more about Tony Hawk because I got a lot to
Hmm.
say if we're talking about glitches and bad coded games for Tony Hawk. And I can say that if you were at all curious at knowing the train wreck that is Tony Hawk because you love like I would have told you never to buy the game. But if you love Tony Hawk and like you have to know about Tony Hawk, it's acceptable now. And I use acceptable loosely. But it is now a game that you can go, oh yeah, hey, they played Tony Hawk before they made this game,
Mm.
and I don't think that was the case beforehand. Um,
You know,
so it still has a lot of problems,
mhm.
but at least some of the technical side issues are relieved. And as Tom put it, now you can play as Ninja Turtles, so it's a must buy.
That's a definite must buy. Well, it's what's sad. I don't want to say sad, but what's happened is that now that patch came out 3+ months after the game released, maybe
Yeah.
more, and people have completely forgotten about Tony Hawk because the initial reviews are so bad. So yeah, they released a patch for the few people that probably own it, and I don't know how they're gonna recover at least from a sales standpoint. I don't think the game will
Yeah.
ever sell very much.
Well, conveniently, the patch came out, I want to say 2 days before Black Friday. So
Okay.
I believe it was like 35 or $40 at like GameStop and a whole bunch of different stores.
Hmm.
So like anybody that like unfortunately happened to like go, oh, I want to pick this up or like got that as a Christmas gift, it has now entered a level where I like if somebody bought me Tony Hawk, I don't think I would be enraged while playing it. I'd still be
Okay.
upset, but
It's not
but
table flipping rage, is it?
yeah. Well, and at this point, like when I was like originally typing out the review before the update came out, and I had like mentioned in it that like it makes more financial. I think the direct words I used was it makes more financial sense and will be more fun to track down like a GameCube to play Tony Hawk 3 than it would be to go out and buy Tony Hawk 5. And I think at this point now, the economics of it are it's cheaper to buy Tony Hawk 5 than to buy a GameCube and Tony Hawk 3. But I think I would still do the GameCube Tony Hawk 3 method.
You'd still rather play that.
Yeah.
It's so sad how much of a mess this game was. I mean, it was because they switched the art style like towards the end of the completion of the game. They said, you know what? Instead of trying to be realistic, let's make it cartoony.
Yeah, and I think that was to alleviate some of the stress on the engine.
Mm,
Because for the update,
okay.
they changed some lighting, and visually almost nothing has changed. But I think they've made it less like the lighting less dependent on the
Mm,
actual like system. And it's so weird because they added 2 new maps to Tony Hawk 5, and the 2 new maps actually feel good. Like they're good
mm.
maps. The only problem is I don't think they got the same passive polish that the original maps did for the update. Because
Oh,
like
really?
instances of like chugging like in the previous maps at certain spots have been taken away. There's still missions that like drop it down to like 15 frames per second. But the new maps don't have that sort of polish where there's like one area in
Hmm.
the Wild West map or something where if you grind on a rail, the camera shakes, which causes the like game to slow down. And it has like the same mission as every other level does, where you have to these are sheep that you're trying to get out of the pool, as opposed to beach balls trying to get out of the pool. And when you do that mission on the Wild West, it turns down to a slideshow presentation.
Oh,
Like
really?
I don't have a frame counter, but I can almost guarantee that it's under 10 frames per second.
Wow.
And like it lasts for like a good probably minute into that mission before like the frames go even close to 30 again. it's almost comical that I'm like, oh wow, you guys fixed so much, and then I'm like, okay, time to try the new levels. Oh no, these are broken now. How did this happen?
Oh, jeez. Well, good luck to Tony Hawk, and hopefully anybody who got it for Christmas can get that patch downloaded and pray for the best. I guess I don't know. Cool. Anything else you've been playing?
No, I think that's about it.
So I've been I got three things I've been playing. I hate saying three things, but I always say it. So we've been doing our 12 games of Christmas, and which I think we kind of did last year. We didn't really publicize it very much. We did a lot the couple years before then, and essentially it's clearing out our backlog. You get 12 games, you got to play them and try to get through them. Some that have been sitting on piles or digitally in Steam, as much of us probably have, and just to kind of clear them out and start the year fresh and with less of a pile of games to go through. So my 12 games included a bunch of stuff from the 360. Now that there's backwards compatibility, I could jump into South Park and Fallout 3, which I've been playing both those. A few 3DS games, a couple PS4 games, and I also decided, I'm gonna take a few of those games that have released this year: Metal Gear Solid, Batman: Arkham Knight, Fallout 4, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Xenoblade, and try to play a little bit of those at least. Try to get 20 hours, 30 hours into Xenoblade, and similar to Fallout, and in Fallout, and kind of go from there and try to get just an idea of how the rest of these games have played. So I've bought everything except for Fallout 4 and Rise of the Tomb Raider. So if anybody is listening and wants to buy me those games, feel free to do that. But I did manage to finish Chibi Robo Ziplash. That was on my list. And apart from I mentioned this when we first talked about it, Sam, because I know you've played it. Apart from the silly level selection mechanic, which again it makes you spin a wheel and hopefully you land on the next spot over to try to get to the level that you want to get to. It's poorly designed. It's difficult to explain because it doesn't work. Apart from that, it's not a bad game at all. It's actually a very competent platformer, and there's some neat things to do with his little whiplash tail thing, the plug. And I enjoyed it. And then once you complete the game, you open up a whole other world, whole other series of levels. So there's quite a bit more to play with it. And the amiibo functionality is actually kind of interesting. You get all these bonuses if you're using your Chibi Robo amiibo, and you get you can get costumes and all that kind of stuff. So I completed that. It's not a great game. It's a competent game, I guess you could say. It's easily completable within a day. Right? You can probably sit down in the morning and have the thing banged out. Probably by late afternoon, early evening if you're diligent. So it's fun. It's interesting. It's Chibi Robo. It's probably the last Chibi Robo we'll see because unfortunately Nintendo hasn't been they haven't really been pushing Chibi, and they made one great Chibi Robo game and then like 4 not great ones, right? Because they had the GameCube one, which was everybody loves. Then they had one for 3DS, which wasn't very good. Or I'm sorry, 2DS. I'm sorry, 2DS. Wow, DS. Then they had the photography one, I think, that little kind of downloadable photography app thing that didn't work very well. And now this one, which is okay, but it's just another platformer. So we may have seen the last of Chibi Robo, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm still holding out hope that he's like one of the final Smash characters alongside Cloud.
Yeah. We'll find out on the 15th. Yeah, they've announced it the 15th. So that should be pretty cool. Let's see what else. Okay, so Chibi Robo, finished that up, and I have been playing Steam World Heist. So I got the review of that going up either tonight or tomorrow at some point. So Steam World is a refresher. This is one of the games that won our Team Choice Awards at PAX East, and it's from it's Image and Form from the creators of Steam World Dig. So they have this IP, this universe of these steampunk robots who do various game genres and that kind of stuff. So I always enjoyed Steam World Dig because it was like a Dig Dug and Spelunker and all that kind of stuff rolled into one. SteamWorld Heist is a very different game. And I think I called it a 2D XCOM, and it very much fits into that genre. In that you're kind of moving on these 2D worlds, and you have teams of from 1 to like 3 or 4, and you control your characters, and each of them have different attacks. You're taking out either bad guy robots or collecting loot, or doing specific tasks, and then you exit the world. Well, then instead of, I should say world, there are these other ships that you're boarding to get through. Everything is procedurally generated or randomly generated, so that no two ships are ever the same. So that's kind of a cool mechanic, and makes every ship you board is a very different experience. So the layout sometimes it can get kind of frustrating just because you have to collect all the loot, and the last two pieces will be down in like the bottom right corner, and there'll be a whole bunch of traps along the way where if you can't make it through and then you restart and you regenerate the ship, all the loot might be like right in front of the main door. So there's a few bugs with that, but nothing, not necessarily bugs, just some inconsistencies. But really enjoyable game. Let me rephrase that. I really like this game. This has quickly become one of my favorite games of the year. They did a phenomenal job. The visuals are awesome. The stuff they're able to do with the 3DS. I definitely recommend playing with this in 3D because it feels like these 2D flat planes that are kind of right up front, and then this expanse of my hand is like flying at the camera. Whoa! This expanse of space behind it, so it's very much like you're looking at this diorama. But the sense of depth it's not a ton of depth or anything, but just really nice, kind of the parallel levels, parallax scrolling. Characters are awesome. The voices. I was gonna actually play. I'd loaded up the game here. I want to play one of the voices here because each of the robots that you run across, they all sound like what's the frog on Star Fox? What's his name? Slippy? Is his
Slippy,
name?
yeah.
Slippy. And you know how he'll go like blah 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 blah. Well, this is the robots kind of sound like that, but they have a very mechanical, tinny sound. So, can you guys hear the music?
I do.
Okay, listen to the robot. So he says. So here's another robot. It's the audio is really nice. It's the little character voices. It sounds like a fart in a metallic church or something. But yeah, really cool audio. Great little characters, and it's just you could play the game over and over and over again. You could level up your characters you're playing. The plot's just kind of a silly. You have to rescue all the water from the bad guys, the royalists who have taken over different planets and stuff. And it's huge. Like SteamWorld Dig was maybe about. You could probably get like 6 hours of SteamWorld Dig, because it really was just a big procedurally generated, keep digging downward type of thing. But SteamWorld Heist is massive. It's like I'm probably at about 14 or 15 hours just through the main quest of the game, and then I've gone back in since I've completed it, and I'm leveling up my characters, hiring new characters, new teammates, and I really enjoy it. It's such a great game to just lean back, knock out a couple levels, build up your reputation, get a better weapon, and then just shut down your 3DS for a while. It's awesome. I highly recommend it. And Image and Form do a great job. They really love They definitely love Nintendo because they'll release their games on Nintendo platforms first. And there's something about doing that. Like the very few developers that do that. You look at the devs of Shovel Knight, the Gunman Clive developers, and obviously Fast Racing Neo just came out. The folks that seem to focus on the Nintendo platform and cultivate that Nintendo not heritage, but just the ideology of making things really tight and focusing on gameplay and characters and that kind of stuff. All these games kind of have a Nintendo feel to it, and I think that's what I like about that SteamWorld franchise and some of the other games that I mentioned, just because they have nailed that feel. So yeah, SteamWorld Heist, a lot of fun, tons of fun. I love the weapons. Can't speak any more highly of it. Definitely, if you have a 3DS, pick it up. There's no reason not to. It's probably my favorite 3DS game of the year.
It's no longer just exclusive to 3DS, is it?
No, it's just through this year. I think it launches in the beginning of January or sometime in January
Okay.
for PC, Steam, PS4, Xbox One, Wii U. But it started with the 3DS. They really wanted to focus and get the experience right, and then port it to everything else. So,
Cool.
yeah, definitely pick it up. It's a lot of fun. If you have a 3DS, get it. If you don't have a 3DS, wait until January or whenever it comes out for the other platforms because it's totally worth it. Such a good, fun game to sit back and relax to. So.
Cool.
And I think that's the majority. Oh, I've been playing more Hearthstone, which I'm really liking as usual. And I didn't. What was interesting about Hearthstone or Hearthstone, whatever you want to call it, is that when I first started playing, I thought, oh man, you have to pay to get. Oh, bless you. You have to pay to get all these card packs, right? To get new packs, you have to pay money. And then I found out, okay, well, you can use. I guess you can build up in-game money and use that to spend on the card packs, but that could take forever. Well, it doesn't. As anybody who's been playing the game will tell you, you could probably get 100 points a day if you're playing well enough and keep leveling up your character. So leveling up your card packs and stuff. So within like the span of a week, you can have 500 to 700 of in-game cash at least, and use that to do card packs or expansion packs and that kind of stuff. So I've actually been able to get all the expansion packs just from constantly playing the game. So I really, really enjoyed that. And I'm not good at it at all, but I'm starting to figure out card combinations again, like my old Magic the Gathering days from like 20 years ago when I used to play all the time. Some of that has now finally come back into me, and I'm learning about combinations, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It is the best game to play when you're stuck in a finance meeting and you're listening to people just drown. You can drown them out with a good old few rounds of Hearthstone. They're quick too. So that's what I've been playing. What's that?
I spent a good $100 on Hearthstone.
Oh no!
Okay, here's why. First of all, you guys need your.
You're going for legendaries, or?
Oh no! The whole thing is like I played this game exclusively with my brother back in the motherland. But I played on the American servers for a little bit and figured, okay, I'll build my deck fine. And then he said, no, come play on the European server. So I tried, and he had like this huge deck. I was like, well, fuck you, buddy. I'm going to spend like $50 just to catch up with you.
Okay.
And then an expansion came out, and he had a lot of cards. I'm like, okay, I'll get you. So I dropped another 50 on it. That's why you get free missions now. Yep. And all these new cards is all thanks to people and wheels like
me. Thank you.
And you know what? I spent $50 and I don't play it for weeks afterwards.
I'm loving it. I'm so late to it, and I'm probably I'll jump into like Heart of the Storm in like 4 years. I should probably try that Minecraft as well one day. I forgot about that one. I'm so late to some of these. I don't know if my internal gaming clock has to catch up or what. But, so that's what we've been playing. Obviously a lot of variety of games. So, and then of course there's Tony Hawk, which is not a game; it's an experience.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the couple topics that we've got to cover. One is PSX / the Game Awards, and some of the news that came out of there, and some of our impressions. And so in the last few years, we've been doing a live stream along with the Game Awards. We didn't get a chance to do it this year, notably because I was at the Game Awards, and everybody else was really busy. No one could get the live stream up and running. So sorry about that, folks. We'll make up for it. Maybe we'll do like a late to the live stream party. Who knows? But we had the Game Awards. I'm glad they exist. Right. Kudos to Jeff Keighley for putting it on every year, going through ups and downs, going through some awkward moments this year, as we saw, and still managing to come out and put on a fairly successful show. It's never going to be what everybody wants. I mean, I think some people want it to be the Oscars. Some people want it to be closer to what the DICE Awards are. But really, this is kind of a combination of the MTV Video Music Awards and a mini E3 press conference. And I think that's fine for gaming.
Absolutely.
I do have to say that if anybody's ever interested in going, the Game Awards last year and this year have been really empty inside. Like on TV and on live on TV, the live stream, they make it look great. Camera work makes it look like it's packed. It's not packed. You don't have to buy. Don't have to worry about tickets selling out because they were giving away tickets a few days after tickets went on sale. So I was expecting a ton of people were going to be there, and there were a ton of people there. But the venue was so huge that there were the majority of seats. I'd probably say half the seats were empty, and you could sit anywhere you wanted in essentially the entire auditorium. But
and they still wouldn't let Marcus Beer back in when he went out for
that was great of Marcus. So he had left his ticket, or he had thrown his ticket away the minute he walked into the building. He just chucked his ticket. That was it. And he went out later on to take a smoke. He already wasn't having a great time with the show, so he went out and took a smoke, and then they wouldn't let him back in, so he hung out in the lobby for everyone to for all the rest of us to come out. So, or actually, not even lobby, outside the building. So, yeah, it was pretty funny. Poor Marcus.
Poor Marcus.
But yeah, so the Game Awards were really interesting this year. There was a lot of lots of news that kind of popped out. Some strange moments. Obviously, the Kojima Konami thing. I was surprised that Jeff was so forthcoming with it because not that we all didn't know that it was taking place with Kojima and Konami, but nobody was coming out and saying it. Like nobody that was well established in the industry was actually coming out and saying, "Hey, there's a huge issue between these two folks." And Jeff just kind of came out and said, "Yeah, hey, letting you guys know, Kojima was supposed to be here. Konami wouldn't let him come." And then the amount of boos in the audience, I gotta say, I don't know if you guys could hear it on the stream for those who watched, but wow, almost the entire auditorium was booing. It was like a WWE match where the heel was winning. So.
I think that was my favorite moment of the year.
I think so
too.
He
did not give a fuck. He was like, "This is what happened, and
Yep.
you should know about this." I was like, props to Keeley, man.
Oh, totally. That really got if anybody was asleep, everybody was awake after that. But yeah, he totally dropped that mic. He's like, you know what? Here's what happened. But so that was good of him to do it. I'm glad. It was. I don't know if it was necessarily the forum or not to do it. Maybe it was the forum to do it. But whatever. Who cares?
Yeah,
he did it. It's his show. He can do whatever he wants. But yeah, that was interesting. But the overall, there were a lot of cool announcements. So I don't know if you guys saw the advertising on the live feed for like Go60 or whatever the name of the company was that was sponsoring it. They were streaming the advertisements for this app or this company throughout. While we were sitting there, we'd look up and they have advertisements running for this app on all the screens around us. And I thought, wow, that kind of, it's kind of awkward that I'm seeing the advertisement inside the theater that really you wouldn't expect to see an advertisement inside a theater. It's not like this is a basketball game or something. So. It's just kind of interesting that they kind of went that route, but whatever.
How awkward live there was it every time they went to the AMD
yes.
Battlefront booth?
Oh my God! And everybody knew that the people that iJustine was interviewing were essentially, I don't know if they were EA folks, but they were. It just felt very planted, right? It's not like these folks were actually in love with Battlefront. I think it's like. They probably chose people who were specifically in love. I should say they chose people who were specifically in love with Battlefront to talk about Battlefront. You're not going to find someone saying, "So what do you think about Battlefront?" Whatever. I could go play Mario Kart instead. No one's going to say that. But
I think the clips of it that I saw were all like, this is like an EA like culture executive or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, well, of course he's going to like Battlefront. And the other one was, I can't think of his first name, but Vignacchi, who works with Disney Infinity.
Oh, yeah, John.
Yeah, like, of course he's going to also like it. Like, it's part of the company.
Really great. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think Cliffy B, though, there as well.
Yeah, Cliffy B, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know how they... I don't know about that one, but yeah.
He seems to say whatever he wants to say. Like,
yeah.
See him on Twitter. Like, he doesn't care.
He doesn't. He's just not giving a fuck.
Well, and I also saw like part of the who was it? Dead Mouse's performance.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know if did that like play well live there because like
No, it did
the
not.
clips from the feed like it looked like he didn't care, like the music didn't even sound like it was like really like dance like his like normal kind of music.
No,
So
it was pretty bizarre there because he was playing his music and it was the crowd was not into it at all. The people that they had up front at the stage, like the fans, they kind of bust in to fill the front of the stage and get dancing and stuff. I don't think the majority of them were even dancing, and then the
yikes.
rest of us were just checking our phones. And then he stops because he was the kind of the final part of the show. He stops and he goes, "Yeah, that's it. It's over." And nobody knew that it was still going. I don't know if that came across the feed or not, but he's like, "No, the show's done." We're like, "Oh, okay. I guess we can all leave now." That was pretty funny. They had a Skrillex after party for the Game Awards. So we thought, oh, cool, wow, Dead Mouse, Skrillex. So the after party started at 8:30. So we all get there at 8:30, hoping Skrillex is gonna come on. We're gonna listen to music. I left at 12:15, and Skrillex had still not come on to perform
Oh wow.
at this after party. I thought, wow, I'm really tired because I was still jet lagged from the 3-hour time difference getting out to LA, and I thought, I'm going to bed. There's no way. It's a Thursday night, people.
Yeah, it's a school night.
Yeah, but really nice setup. It was my first time being at any kind of big video game awards type of thing, and the setup was really well done. And security felt great, obviously, after all the crazy stuff that was happening over the last couple of weeks. They did a great job of security. I'm actually glad that they didn't let Marcus back in because of the whole not because Marcus is dangerous, he is, but just that everybody was on pins and needles. We wanted to make sure that we were being, that everybody was safe. But there were a couple interesting announcements. For me, like Telltale doing Batman, I think could be really cool because it's that classic, almost like a mix between Batman the animated series and like the old 1950s, 1960s Batman comics, like the pre-campy stuff. So I like the direction that was presented in, at least from that teaser.
Yeah, I missed that whole announcement because I was photoshopping in the meantime.
Okay.
I was running the game Awards at the same time.
Yeah, Game Awards. Yeah, that was
because Keely made a typo in his own Twitter handle, and I looked it up and it didn't exist, so I immediately made that and started fucking around with the Game Awards. So I click back and I see like the Batman logo. I was like, oh shit, what did I miss? I have to catch up on that, but it sounds great, man. Telltale Batman.
Oh yeah, it does. It's like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. Smart idea. So yeah, there was that. There was let's see here. They showed the Walking Dead Michonne stuff, and I know you and you're a huge Walking Dead fan.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And this is the first one that actually ties into really ties into the comic because the first two series didn't. They were kind of side stories, side missions. I guess you could say side stories. But this takes place during the the few months that Michonne was kind of absent from the comic, and she had gone off on her own thing away from Alexandria. Spoilers. So that was pretty cool. Let's see. They showed some more Uncharted 4 stuff. I'm kind of going through some lists here. Far Cry Primal, which looked cool. I mean, it's big giant cats, so that's always a good thing. Let's see what else.
Uncharted wasn't at the Game Awards, was it? Wasn't that PSX?
Uncharted was at the Game Awards as well, though. I think they showed a quick clip over there.
Oh yeah. When he gets his ass kicked by the lady. Yeah.
Yep. Quantum Break, obviously they showed. That looks interesting. I'm curious about that game. I'm curious how it'll do. But it looked good. I was still kind of interested in that. Psychonauts 2 was announced there, so that was cool. Yes. I have yet to play Psychonauts 1. I've downloaded it on Steam.
What? Play it now. It's
Stop
the best.
And then Rock Band VR, which was an interesting thing, right? And I think I remember back at PAX East this year when I saw the Rock Band, the Harmonix folks, actually the Rock Band folks were on a VR panel. I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Rock Band VR is on its way. I was totally joking. And then lo and behold, Rock Band VR is on its way. So that's good. I'm curious to see how that'll all play out. But were there anything else out of those, or something else out of at least the Game Awards that piqued your guys' interest? Or did that pretty much cover it?
That pretty much covered.
Yeah.
Well, I also loved that. I think it was Jade from UE.
Yes.
Made fun of the voice actor, David Hayter. Well,
Oh yeah.
Jack Bauer's in the audience, and she just disses him. I was like, wow, that
was pretty funny. Yeah, he's in the audience. Keith Sutherland's in the audience. She goes, "Yeah, there can only be David Hayter." It's like, whoa, all right, ballsy. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, from there, I went over to PlayStation, PSX, which was starting that weekend as well in San Francisco. And I've come to realize that I absolutely love PSX. It's a smaller show, obviously. It's completely dedicated to PlayStation, but it's 2 floors of a this is Moscone, so where Apple used to have all their announcements and stuff. It's 2 floors of just PlayStation games, PlayStation accessories. It's kind of like a mini PAX, I guess you could say, like the gaming portion of PAX. Some of the bigger games, PlayStation stuff, some VR stuff, and then a ton of indies. So I totally enjoyed it, and I definitely, if you have ever a chance, just go to PSX. It's an awesome conference, and it's definitely fan based, fan geared. So that's always good. But they showed obviously some of the Uncharted stuff again, more trailers, Battleborn, which whatever. I'm having a hard time getting excited with Battleborn.
I think everybody is at this point.
Exactly. They had Fang, the Street Fighter V, the kind of final character, the final new character from the starting roster. That's going to be available. So that Street Fighter V comes out in February.
Yeah.
That's pretty
February
cool.
16, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Then there was that let's see. That crazy VR demo that they tried, right? The Tron-ish thing. Oh man, that did not go over well. Like the whole place went silent at PSX when they were showcasing this thing.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It's weird that they gave so much like floor time to that when like I think the reaction to what was it, Job Simulator 2050 or whatever was just so like you could hear people laughing on the
oh my god, it was wonderful.
live stream. Yeah.
Job Simulator was great. I'm gonna do a write-up about in my time with it. I've still got to do all my write-ups from PSX. But one of the really cool things about Job Simulator was it is a huge sandbox, right? So you can do whatever you want in that game, and so it's basically robots telling robots what human life was like on with jobs. So you like the very first thing you do, it's almost like an instructional video, right? The very first thing you do is you start getting ready for work, and you have nutrition. So your goal is to eat donuts, and you kind of bury your face in donuts. I don't know if you could. The folks that are watching this live stream can see me like just kind of burying my face into some fake donuts. You could just I think I threw milk across the room, and it was awesome. It was such a blast. Job Simulator is one in VR. I think is going to be. It's gonna be pretty awesome. I'm trying to think of some other things. There were a lot of VR things were shown at PSX, like was it Golem or whatever it was. So that was there. The giant 100-foot robot golf, interesting idea. And then Double Fine had Psychonauts VR, right? They announced that too, which is pretty crazy.
They also had a game like Eagle, I think.
Yes, Eagle, which is pretty interesting. I think Robin will be interested in that one because Robin had mentioned how much she liked the Eagle concept art from Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and that ended up not being part of the game. So, and then Res Infinite, that was huge. That probably that Job Simulator stole the VR stuff at the show. People were really excited about those. So,
you think you're gonna get VR when it comes out?
Man, I'm on the fence. Every time I try it, I think, wow, this is awesome. This is really a great experience, and I don't have any health issues with it. Like I know some people get nauseous, but I always thought it was really cool. But I don't know how much I'll be using it. Right? I for me, VR is going to have to be my next is my next video game system, right? I'm gonna essentially say, okay, that was fun looking at a TV for games. I'm going VR forever, right? It's got to be, to me, that big of a leap to kind of get me to stop playing the way I've been playing for 30 odd years, just to get into VR, because I don't want to have another peripheral sitting around, whether it's for the PlayStation or if it's an Oculus or whatever, that I'm only going to use a little bit and then probably forget down the line because there's not enough content being made, or I can't share it with my family, or I look horrendously goofy. And trust me, everybody looks goofy. And I grabbed some photos of the new PlayStation VR headset, and it's stylish, but it's still this huge giant thing that's hanging off the front of your face, and it has all these blue lights over it. So not only are you have the big goiter off the front of your forehead, but now you have flashing lights that say, "Hey, everybody, look at me and look at this big giant thing on my forehead." So, yeah, I think there's a design problem there. They got to get the size of those down.
Well, and I think right now, like, everything they're showing is a lot of like 360-degree movement with like Move controllers or some form of it.
Yeah.
And I think to like get it into consumers' hands is to show them that they can still use like a DualShock 4 with it, be seated, and don't have to move around. You can just look left and right, up and down, or whatever, to be in these 3D worlds. And I know, what is it? There's that squirrel one that I think Oculus has. That's going to be like a launch title for them. It's just like an action platformer that's like a third-person camera perspective, and you're basically, every time you enter a room, your camera is just your head movement.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I think games like that are going to be like how you can get that, convince people like, hey, like you could do this without this headset, but if you get this headset, like it makes it so much more immersive and deeper. Whatever. I've been putting off like waiting to put one of those headsets on until we get to like the consumer models of them.
Right.
Like
yeah,
I was going to, like, my first VR experience was going to be at PAX this past year. I was like in line at Oculus, and I thought about it. I'm like,
I remember you were in line with us. Yeah.
And I was like, well, this isn't going to be like, this. They were still saying like, oh, this is still like 2 versions away from being the consumer model. And like I've been like kind of waiting until they're like, this is the final product that like when you buy it, this is what you will exit the box. Just because I don't, like they can show us all types of sort of like propped up demos and like experiences at these shows, but I want to know, like, if I see a game at PAX or something that isn't a VR experience, I know as I'm playing it, like, okay, well, I can see myself playing this game at home or with these people doing that. But like all those demos are like, oh, this is like a one-room experience that we built specifically for here. Like I know that London Heist game is getting moved on to a full game for PlayStation.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they had that there. Yeah.
But like I remember like the first time they were showing that, it was just like, here's a room where you're crouched behind a desk, like get the gun that's in the I think it was in like a drawer or something. Like I want to be able to sit down and be like, this system comes out in August, and this game will be there in August. Like sit down and play it as if you own it. And like once those experiences start like actually like sort of propagating at these events, like are these experiences that you would want to be locked in for 4 hours? Or if there's Destiny VR, are you only going to want to play it for an hour, or do you going to want to play it for an entire evening with friends?
Exactly. Yeah.
You just said squirrel, and I just imagined. Can you imagine like a scratch simulator from Ice Age, where you just have to chase a nut through all the levels?
Oh my God, that would be. That actually could be kind of cool.
So any devs listening, this one's for free.
Yeah.
Awesome. You can just see your nose, on the screen.
Yeah, just the front tip of your nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities. Like I've had my daughter and my wife both try. We have a VR headset that came in, and I'm going to be giving away actually. That one of those little plastic cases that you drop your phone into.
Yeah.
And at a basic level, yeah, it worked. It's obviously not the quality of an Oculus or a Vive or anything like that, but they like to just watch stuff. They didn't like to they didn't feel the need to interact, and I thought, ooh, excuse me, I'm yawning here. I think once we get into like watching TV shows and concerts and having those, movies, having those kinds of experiences, I think that would be, to me, that would probably put me over. If I could watch Star Wars in VR, so that as I turn my head, action's happening everywhere. That's when I'm sold. That's the point where I say I'm all in for that. To me, is a $500 purchase just to watch Star Wars in VR. And be able to see the entire room that they're in, and notice things that that they can't notice. I think that to me is that's a direction that I think would definitely win me over. But we're not there yet.
Yeah, I don't think games are gonna do it for me either.
No.
Although what they demoed, like the summer lesson that was super creepy in the beginning, I can still see that working. If you're trying to learn a language and you, set up to have that interaction, I think that would work. But of course, they made it all weird and in her bedroom.
Yeah.
But the concept, that's what I like. I don't need to play an action game on my VR. I just, like you said, watch a movie, watch a sports event, or like that Eagle game. I don't need to
that could be cool.
Let me fly through London, whatever, as a bird. That'd be awesome.
Imagine the Warcraft movie, right? They had the trailer where they're flying over the.
With the Griffin, right?
The Griffin. I mean, that could be kind of cool. Something like that could be awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that VR, PlayStation, PSX was. VR was everywhere. They were definitely pushing it. Obviously, it's coming out. Like the date keeps changing, but it's still supposedly the first half of 2016. But I have a feeling it'll get bounced into the second half.
Yeah.
Just because they're packed to the gills with games coming out. They don't want to cannibalize Uncharted, or there's only so many advertising dollars that you can put in, and if they're front-loading 2016 with the games that you don't need VR for, then I can imagine the second half of the year is going to be all VR. That's going to be the big push. So.
Yeah. About it, I'm not sure. I don't want to run over time. But with Uncharted, they showed this thing that looked like a dialogue option.
Oh yes, yeah.
I don't think that's a dialogue option at all. I think that's like an importing decisions or missions, like Mass Effect 2 did.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell your story. I think that's what that is. I don't see how dialogue options are going to fit in a game like Uncharted.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't seem like it'll thematically fit, but that's a great point. It's almost like, hey, have you played all the Uncharted? Well, if you have, you're probably going to pick this. This dialogue, and then that way everything's brought up. You know the story and all that kind of stuff. So, that's a great point. It's a catch up type of thing, especially for the folks that have just played the Uncharted collection. So
the game looks insane.
Uncharted
I cannot believe that's real.
It's amazing. I played the multiplayer. They had that at PSX. That was a lot of fun. But that's March. I'm totally looking forward to that. It's circled on my calendar for sure. Well, let's kind of get on to the final portion of the show here. I want to talk about glitches and bugs in games and how acceptable they are. To me, the conversation, it's always been ongoing. There have always been glitches in games, right? Since Pong, there have been glitches in games, and even Mario has been famous for the Minus World, which was a sort of a glitch in that game that was never a designed world. But it really kind of, I don't want to say boiled over, but the conversation exploded with Fallout 4 and everything around that, right? Bethesda's games are known for things happening that aren't designed in. I remember Skyrim. I actually had a conversation with a coworker of mine when Skyrim first came out back in 2011, and he said he was fighting somebody or fighting some character or some enemy, and a dragon came in. Well, the dragon landed on a I don't know if it was like a horse or whatever was on there, but he said there was basically a horse. The way everything clipped, there was a horse stuck on a dragon, and as the dragon's flying, the horse is stuck on top of it, and they're flying off into the sunset. I thought, well, that's just kind of bizarre. And then obviously you have this stuff in Fallout 4 right now with dead bodies dancing, stuff stuck halfway in walls or upside down. Stuff that takes the realism away from the game, right? It starts to look, with too many glitches, it looks unpolished. Yeah. And then you get into the more severe glitches where you can't even play the game because it'll wipe a save or so on. So I wanted to get into the conversation with that and kind of get an idea for where you guys stand and where the industry stands, and just kind of have an open dialogue about it. Spend the next few minutes talking about it. So, I think one of the one of the interesting ones, and I don't know if it was you that brought it up or who, but maybe you. Assassin's Creed Unity last year was butchered for the face thing, right?
Yeah.
When you were looking at somebody's face and they're talking to you, and the skin is peeled away, the eyeballs are hanging out, and I remember the media, the press and gamer alike would just lost their shit about it. This is horrible. The game is broken because of this one stupid scene, and forget it. It's done. It's over with. 0 out of 10. And then the same thing has happened with Fallout 4. During the character select screen, I've seen images of the characters with missing half their heads, and everyone's like, "Aha, this is funny. Check it out. This is great. Look what's happening in Fallout 4." And I'm like, "What? Hold on a second. It's totally opposite of what you guys just said about Assassin's Creed Unity." I'm not defending Unity. It wasn't a great game by any means, but I'm just kind of noting that perception that especially Bethesda seems to get away with anything, and it's okay because their world is so huge that they're gonna miss some things. You can't have a perfect game, so you just kind of expect bugs to happen, and but then you get a game like Assassin's Creed, and it's like, no, that's the worst thing in the world. It's the same bug.
Yeah, well, I've been ranting on this for a while because I don't mind if your game has a few bugs, but Skyrim fucked me. I stood in line midnight to get Skyrim a copy, and I was a good 20 hours in, and the quest messed up because I did the one quest first that I shouldn't have done, and the storyline just stopped there. He would not give me the quest. So I was like, well, I'm not going to start over. I don't have that much time. So I returned it. I was like, okay, I'm done Skyrim. I know I'm missing out, but I don't need it anymore. So when I saw Fallout 4 coming out, and people were like, oh, yeah, it's a little glitchy, but it adds to the charm of the game.
That's I hate that.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't understand. Because the guys at Ubisoft, yes, they come up with a new game every year, and I personally think that's an accomplishment what they do every single year. But so they get a lot of flack if there's something wrong. And then Fallout comes out, which they've been working on this game for years.
A decade nearly, yeah.
Yeah, and people are like, oh yeah, no, I love it when that goes wrong because it's so funny when my character just flies up in the air for no. No, it's fine if you can live with it. That's fine. You can enjoy the game. You can give it a 10 out of 10. But don't say it adds to the charm of the game.
Thank you. Yeah.
Because that's why they never fix their shit.
It's exactly it. And so I have a design background, and my goal as a designer is to make everything 100% perfect. For there to be no glitches, for there to be no bugs, because I have an intent for what I want this product to be, right? And I have if I'm selling you a round basketball, I don't expect you to accept flat sections of the basketball because it's cute. That's whatever. It bounces. When it doesn't bounce straight, it bounces off the side, but that adds the charm of the basketball. It's still usable. I can still throw it into a hoop. The whole idea of it adds the charm. It's for who, right? Maybe it adds the charm specifically for you, but for the general masses of people who are buying this, you can't say that because everybody has different expectations going into this game. For me personally, I know there's going to be bugs in games. I know there's going to be glitches because they are using software that's constantly getting updated. Their development tools are getting updated. The hardware, developers don't reach peak understanding of hardware until after they've stopped working on the hardware, right? They're just now finally getting to the level of PS3 that where they can push the PS3, but they've already stopped developing for it, so there's no reason to. But now they're chasing the PS4, and obviously you have the PC issue, which is no matter what you're developing, by the time the game comes out, it's already 2 generations behind on a PC. So they're chasing hardware. In the past, you didn't see bugs and glitches for the NES and Genesis and Super NES and even the PlayStation 1 in a way the way you do now, because the hardware was very familiar and the software, the development tools were very familiar to people, and when you released a product you knew it wasn't going to get updated. You knew that console was your console and that was it, right? Or for developers. And so the hardware chase was done. The hardware that was released was already, several years old, right? The PlayStation 1 came out with CD-ROM, and computers that were out at the same time were vastly superior to the PlayStation 1. Same with the NES, Super NES. The stuff that was out there was already so superior that you're scaling back to get it to get things to fit onto these consoles. But today the consoles are so superior that you're trying everything to pump as much out of these consoles, and that's where I think some of these or a lot of these issues are starting to come up. But it's tough for me to hear someone say, "Oh, it's charming when when a zombie gets stuck halfway in a door and I can't open that door anymore, which means I can't proceed in my quest." But the zombie's dancing in the doorway. His head's there, and he's doing breakdancing in the doorway. So that's kind of cute. But yeah, I don't know. I have an issue with that. I know they're never going to be perfect. I know there's going to be bugs, but
Yeah.
we shouldn't accept it, is what I'm saying.
And it's the perception of which game is popular. Because if like bugs, like you see in Fallout, like floating characters, whatever, if that will be in Destiny, people will be all over that because people like to hate on Destiny.
Yeah.
But for Fallout or Bethesda in general, it's good. It's a big
free
game.
pass.
Yeah, it always seems to be like are the bugs hindering like gameplay at all? And if they're goofy, silly, over the top, as long as they don't happen often, it seems not to like bug people in like other games. Like my brother and I do this thing where I think it was Battlefront or some newer game recently he's been playing, and he loves to do this thing where he'll show me like a screenshot of like a character's head through a wall or whatever, and then he'll just write next gen underneath it. And like like that's like some of that stuff is like funny or goofy, and like all of us have at least talked to a dev or two, and sometimes people's heads just got to go through walls. Like it's we can't figure out what it is about this door, but for some reason if you close it and this dude's foot is here, he's flying 100 feet that way. There's some things that like no matter how like technical a team is, like I don't think like can ever be solved unless
there's so many variables in that code. Yeah.
But when it's gross to me is when you get something like Tony Hawk where they printed that game on disc, knowing that game was beyond broken, to the extent of they printed that game on disc and then day one had a patch that was twice the size of the actual disc data. And I mean that still didn't fix things. Like that's when it seems like gross to me. If it is somehow like hindering your game to an extent where it becomes unplayable, or people that have committed time like over like 20 minutes have been are unable to continue on, like that's when things like seem gross. Like Fallout, like if the frame chugs every once in a while, it's giving them credit by saying it's Bethesda. I get it, all that type of stuff. It's an open world game. It's allowed to do that. Like games chug, and that's fine as long as it's not hindering at that moment your ability to perform whatever actions you're doing. But when you go in and you've spent 60 hours and you're like, okay, time to load my file, and it's like corrupted save or whatever, that's if your save system doesn't work, that's an issue that needs to be solved before that game comes out.
But that's why you have multiple saves. It's basically your own fault that you lost all.
It's your fault.
Well, and that's the other thing. If a developer has to come out and say, well, you should play it this way, that's an issue. Like that's
exactly true.
Like,
don't touch the left stick.
Like I understand you gave me the product, you made me walk through a tutorial that showed me how to do it, but I'm gonna play it however I want to play it. If I want to go into that corner and hit A 1,000 times, the game better not explode when I do it. I want to hit A until it explodes, but hopefully you've coded it so it doesn't. And like glitches are weird for me only because I don't know if you guys remember Halo 2 when the sword was super glitchy, where you could like lunge at an opponent, and people used to use it to like push themselves all the way up on the top of maps. Like and I love speedruns. I think sometimes the more broken the game is in a speedrun, like the funnier and like better experience it is to like watch and like maybe even do it yourself. But that's taking a game and remixing how you're supposed to play it. And yeah, hey, you're playing our game the wrong way, and that's like a deliberate choice is to to break the game in as many ways as possible.
Yeah.
But if I'm in your like AAA title and I find out that I can phase through a wall and now I'm just gonna fall endlessly until I restart a save, that's maybe something to fix if it happens one every 5 times you walk up to that wall.
Yeah, yeah, and there's things I don't mind. Like I'm a huge fan of Mass Effect the co-op that they had in Mass Effect 3, and there's little things like animation skips where you reload, you can cancel your reload, and it just goes faster, and it adds to the game experience. And they were very open about it, like, okay, we're not gonna fix that because it's a mechanic that people use. But there was also a mechanic where you could get like unlimited missiles. And that would freeze up the game for everyone in your party. Like, that's a shitty glitch. Yeah. And that's the stuff they kind of jump on. But, that's the reload canceling. It adds to the charm. It actually adds to the gameplay. So I can see how there's some wiggle room there. But falling through the floor never adds to the charm.
No, I was playing Call of Duty. I think it was Black Ops 2. And I was playing it on the Wii U. And it's surprisingly, Black Ops 2 is the Wii U version is probably the best version just because of that controller and that second screen, and it's actually a very tight game. But I have a photo of it in, I think I have it in my Miiverse stack of images, but I had fallen through the floor, and I don't even know how. I was running through like one of the fields there, and the next thing you know, like I go over a cliff, and I look down the cliff, just like turning my head and looking down, sent me flying through all of the geometry into nothingness. Well, what was interesting was that at least, was it Treyarch, the developer for Black Ops? At least they made the nothing look kind of cool, because it's like they purposely did this giant spherical world that you're in, and so as you're falling, everything's got this like purple and cool looking look to it, but. Yeah, I was just falling through geometry for like 20 minutes. I just kind of let the game go, and the guy was falling, and that was it. So it kind of bugs me, but and maybe this is me not knowing enough about these specific developers, but I tend to see this more out of Western developers, right? So, your BioWares, your we were talking about, Bethesda, your EA. I tend to see DICE. Obviously, DICE is notorious for their server stuff, but I wonder if there's that mentality of or the focus for game development. You look at Japanese game developers, and up until now, Konami said, Kojima, you can do whatever you want. Take as long as you need with Metal Gear to make it a great game, make it right. Yeah. And that's why I think Metal Gear always comes out, and I haven't heard of too many bugs. I'm sure there are, but Metal Gear tends to be a good pillar about that. Gran Turismo, right? Gran Turismo is the same way. We're waiting for Gran Turismo 7, and we'll probably be waiting another 4 years for it to actually come out, because Japanese developers have all the time in the world to get a job done correctly. It's almost like they're not tied to gotta release a games within this time frame to meet our financial goals. It's like, no, you do it, and you do it right, and you do it one time, so you don't need to make any patches.
Yeah, in Metal Gear Solid 5, I'm not sure if it was just me, but in like the first 3 minutes, for everyone who's played it, you fall out of the bed and you crawl the first 5 minutes of the game. He was consistently clipping through the floor.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was like, really, in the first 3 minutes, like you didn't catch that, but it might have been just my pathing that I took, but that like took me out of the game. I was like, oh, come on, man! But I still played it. Yeah. It's all a dream anyway, right? That's the cool thing.
But it's the same. That's a great point. It can take you out of the game, and when I play like Fallout or I play Skyrim, maybe not so much because it's a fantastic world, but when I play games and there's meant to be realism, I expect that realism to be upheld, and I almost wish there was a I don't know if I want to say it this way or not, but like a whimsical or a kookiness button, a scale, so that I'm gonna let glitches slide a little bit, a little bit more in. on the scale here, so I can see kind of crazy stuff, or I don't want any glitches, and I want it to be as realistic as possible. But yeah, I don't know. I just, like I said, I noticed that typically between Japanese developers or Eastern developers and Western developers, there's tends to be more glitches in the Western, but maybe it's just my silly
You're
observation.
biased.
Maybe my tech bias.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm not sure if we talked about it yet, but I feel like the idea of like talking about glitches and talking about games being broken at launch and stuff like didn't become an issue until we started seeing developers almost take advantage of the patches and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause, like I'm trying to think, 'cause even somebody like Rockstar fell under the trap of they released what was it, the Bully Scholarship Edition game on 360, and that game was like I think wouldn't it like I could be wrong, but I think it deleted like hard drive data that wasn't even pertaining to Bully. If you did like certain actions in the game or if it glitched in a certain way. And Rockstar, other than I think GTA Online might not have worked right when it launched, but they've been known to be like pretty flawless on delivering experiences that have been pretty like 100% like together. And they solved it with a patch eventually, but it's become that idea where, well, okay, this might be a little broken, but we can release it now and we'll have a day one patch for it. And we've gotten just so used to people being connected onto these networks all the time that we forget that, like, I think it was something like 30% of players still don't have like PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live, so they're never getting any of these patches. They are just getting stuck with what is on the disc that they purchase at their store. And I can say if I was somebody that bought Tony Hawk 5 and had no way of updating that game, I can't even imagine what that game looks like without an update to it.
Oh yeah, jeez. I think you're right though. The whole idea of the day one patch is such a crutch, right? And it exposes the fact that we have to get a game out by a certain time. We have to meet our financial goals, so our holiday goals, which is usually around the holidays. So let's get this game out by November 15th, and then we'll do the patch, along the way, and we'll get that as a day one patch, and we'll release the patch later on. You see this a lot with Ubisoft on the PC especially, and I mean obviously you look at what Warner Brothers and Rocksteady did with Batman Arkham Knight and how that was just a disaster on PC. But yeah, there's the day one patch is just such a it's a thorn in my side as a consumer, because what if you aren't connected online? You're not going to get any experience.
Then we have an Xbox 360 for you.
We have an Xbox 360. I remember that comment. We have an Xbox 360. But it's a good conversation. I think we're gonna need to keep having this conversation. But I just want to, me personally, I think we need to keep the developers' feet to the flame at least a little bit and let them know that hey, we know you're gonna have glitches. We understand that the technology, software, you're still chasing technology. Even late into a console's life cycle, but we should still be calling out whenever there are glitches, even these silly glitches. I didn't see enough, I guess you could say, commentary and reviews of Fallout 4 about the glitches, and I know people ran into them that were reviewing them, and whether it's from joesblog.com or from IGN or whoever, but some places didn't mention the bugs at all when you can kind of that they've gone across them. They've come across them, right? I just feel like we need to mention that more. That needs to be brought up more often within the context of a review. Just to say, hey, there are bugs in this game. We ran across, whatever, guys dancing to Moonwalker or something. I don't know. At least the developers then know that we know. It's like we know, that we know, but and it makes consumers cognizant of the fact that there are tiny issues. There's a 99% chance that they will not affect your game, but just know that this game isn't perfect and no game is perfect. So
all glitches are equal, but some are more equal than others.
Exactly. And again, We need to stop giving favoritism for companies like Bethesda, who it's like, oh, that's fine, let them glitch all they want. It's a Bethesda game.
Yeah.
No, we do need to be fairly equal on this, at least just to continually strive for great games. Ideally, we wouldn't have any day one patches.
Yeah.
I think a day one patch should impact to me, for anyone who uses review scores, I do think day one patches have to impact the review score because the game is shipped incomplete. If there's a day one patch, the game was shipped just to get it on disc and get it in store shelves, and it's a disservice at least a disservice to consumers. So, in my opinion, but I'm just a lowly guy. Anything else about glitches, gentlemen? Has there been anything? You guys have mentioned stuff that ruined save games, but anything that you've come across that's been funny or enjoyable or acceptable?
Well, I had I think it was Dragon Age Inquisition, where I found like it's not a hidden path. I just like did 1,000 jump slides to get across a tree that I wasn't allowed to get over, and then there's a good couple of miles of land after that, and then it just stops. It's like, that's on me that I did all these weird things just to get there. So I'm not gonna complain about falling through the ground at that level where everything is gray around me and I can see a sharp line of where the sea starts.
Mm-hmm.
But that's fine. So there, you have to be a little bit of flexible there if you're looking to find these bugs. But filled save states, that is just
that's the worst.
You can't do that nowadays. And it might not be as bad as on console because you know what you're programming for and you don't have the problem with PC that you have all these different builds. But you have to value your gamer's time, especially nowadays that we're all getting older and having kids and all those things. Like, I can't afford to start Skyrim twice.
No, definitely, exactly. And part of that is on. I hate to constantly just point to fingers at the developers, but some of it is on the console manufacturer or the hardware manufacturer as well, because it's ultimately their hardware. And you saw, was it Skyrim that just did not work on the PS3? It was absolutely horrible and garbage, and yet it worked fine on the Xbox 360. And so the big reason was because the PS3 hardware, as we know, wasn't the best for developing it with all their they had the cell. Configuration, the cell processors, yeah. So we know that the PS3 wasn't easy to develop for. The Xbox 360 was, because it was closer to PC a little bit. It was definitely easier, but so yeah, part of that does fall on the console manufacturer and so on. But I think in the end, it's the consumer that ends up sometimes getting the short end of the stick and becoming complacent. And again, I'm not advocating saying that. All glitches are bad. We have to do a petition.org type of thing to make sure that the developers are making glitch-free games. But we should constantly push developers, and at least as from the critical side, from a fan side, just to continually improve themselves, so we don't have to. Or so that down the line that they're making their products better, knowing that there's going to be glitches, but at least they're be able to address some of the ones that are affecting some of the bigger aspects of the game. So
at least don't call them cute.
At least don't call them cute. Yes, please don't call them cute. I think that's it, folks. I think that's it for the show today. A good hour, almost an hour and a half. Absolutely. That was a lot of fun. And without Tom Johnson, which is phenomenal. Thank you.
Poor guy, still in traffic.
Yeah, he's still stuck in traffic. Good Lord. Wow, thank you so much for joining us.
Loved it.
Where can we find you on Twitter and in your writings?
It's at @thehashtagonist, where the O is a 0, because someone else already owned the original name and wouldn't give it up to me. Find my writings now on thedailycrate.com.
Yes, check them out for sure. Really awesome to have you. We'll have you back on again for sure. This is a lot of fun.
Absolutely, love to be back.
Sam, where can we find you?
I am SamDI79 on Twitter. I think I'm going to make it my New Year's resolution to actually use Twitter more than like once a month or so. So hopefully you'll see a lot more there. Who knows?
My goal is to start using Twitch. That's my New Year's resolution, is to really dive into Twitch and YouTube and get that going. But you can find me on Twitter and on Twitch and YouTube at Cool Rats. I'm sorry, I take it back. At Dolly Domovsky on Twitter. Cool Rats is my old one. I think it's Cool Rats on Twitch. So you can find me there. But at Dolly Domovsky. You can find us at SideQuesting, sidequesting.com. If you're going to listen to this podcast, please rate, review us, tell your friends. All comments are good comments, and we're going to start doing some contests on the podcast as well. And Tom Johnson, unfortunately, was unable to join us. He's at that Tom Johnson, and then Robin is a Robin Miller. Unfortunately, they weren't able to join us. They'll be back next week, and we got some holiday stuff. Maybe the next episode we'll make more of a holiday-themed episode, and have some fun that way, and tell some stories and good stuff. Because we're only, I think, by the time this podcast goes up, we'll be 14 days from Christmas and 7 days to Jedi. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, time has gone by so quickly this year. And that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the SideQuest. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.